Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Martin, and in today's video we are watching Tremors. So Tremors starring Kevin Bacon. I've seen this film. I watched it a lot when I was a kid. I had a VHS tape of it. I watched it all the time. It was just one of those films. But I feel like it's been too long since I've watched this film beginning to end and actually sat down and watched it properly. So I figured this is the one I was going to load up this time. This is the one I'm going to have a little look for and see if it's as good as I remember it to be. There are a few elements I can't quite remember. All I remember, obviously, the obvious thing is that there's big worms under the ground and they have weird little heads that come out their mouth. I almost sort of like, I can't believe that's a thing as I was saying that. But yeah, it's been a really long time since I've watched this. So this is going to fall into the category of sort of my Big Trouble in Little China reaction or The Thing reaction. I don't know why. Today I just felt like going back to something I sort of knew and was a bit more familiar with, rather than jumping into a new thing. Sometimes that happens, you know, it can happen. It's a thing. It's a little phase I go through sometimes, you know, enjoy it. But yeah, without further ado, we'll jump into this. This is Tremors. I hope we all enjoy ourselves. That was a weird way to sign this part of the video off. I'm going with it though. Tremors. What's that? Steel chrome look. Mwah. Jesus Christ, get your hand out of there. Whoa, there's an acting choice for you right there. I'm going to shove my hand right up my butt. Ow.
That's not what's his name, the grad student.
Nah, he graduated. Must be the new one.
New one. That's supposed to be a girl.
Jesus Christ. A girl? I'm going in. Fucking idiot.
I'm up here for the semester.
Yeah, geography.
Geology.
Yeah, well, actually, seismology.
Yeah, you
Earthquakes.
bitches.
And you two must be Val and Earl.
Tammy Lynn Baxter.
Ooh, I broke a nail. Makes my skin crawl.
Well, I'm a victim of circumstance.
I thought you called it your pecker.
I was about to... I forgot you said that. I was about to make a very similar comment.
Hey guys, listen, herring going out. What do you think?
You got a schedule to keep.
Oh, yeah. See, we plan ahead. That way we don't do anything right now. Earl explained it to me.
Good plan. Makes sense. What I want to see is Graboids versus the big worms from June. I'd go watch that movie. Just 2 hours of worms headbutting each other. Well, we're getting some Sam Raimi camera work. One thing I have to say is that when I get a good surprise, because like when you just see these little mounds pop up, you kind of expect whatever it is under there to not be as big as what it actually is. So it's like a surprise within a surprise. And then they got things coming out of the mouth as well, so it's another surprise. It's a triple surprise. It's a lot of surprises.
You bet.
Toilet beer, yummy.
You know how close I am to leaving this place right now?
I've always wondered what these two's like,
How close?
how they became friends. Now you're covered in Melbourne shit.
Hey, Mindy, what's the count?
640!
I'm fairly sure the person playing Mindy is someone famous, if I remember correctly.
Edgar, get your butt down from there.
This reveal was so good. I remember seeing it as a kid first time. It really freaked me out first time I saw it. I don't know why. That's just a dead old man. It freaked me out when I was a kid. I love how this movie just builds up the tension. Oh, he went for the sheep as well. I forgot he went for the sheep. But I love how this movie just builds up the is something evil coming this way vibes. Especially if you were watching it for the first time. Like, you know that there's something under the ground. You know it's murderous. And it just builds up that anticipation of wanting to see what it actually is.
It's real weird.
This freaked me out as well. This shit. Look at that. Look at that fucking face. I mean, it's clearly just like a mask in the sand or like a fake head, but freaky looking. It bleeds. If it bleeds, you can kill it. Mmm, lovely and juicy. Kevin Bacon likes. It's great first little reveal, and it sort of matches what those mounds might look like. So you're like, oh, this is what it is. It's just these little ground snake things.
Just one of these could need upgrading this old flock of sheep.
It's a good little harrowing little scenery setting bit of putting the stake in the ground. I'm trying to say something and it's not coming to me what I want to say. Basically, we know there's a lot of shitting monsters around. He didn't like that. That just made me jump a little bit. Jesus. There's also a lot of interesting... Look at these little fuckers. There's a lot of interesting sound design in this film. Like, having seen the film, knowing that the creatures respond to vibrations and stuff on the ground. Like, right here, having the radio being on, even though she's being silent in the car, because the creature responds to vibrations and sounds, it knows it's in the ground. It knows that something's there. And this is our first hint of there being something like bigger. Very clever, this film. I don't think people appreciate how clever the film is.
Melvin, get out of there!
Stop trying to steal my money, you stupid kid.
Thanks. Who's best on a horse?
Of course. It's our heroes of the beast, and don't they look thrilled to be riding through the desert with creatures on the loose.
Snake things couldn't travel that fast.
Shit, for all you know, they can fly.
Hey, well, bolt or
I laugh because of how that comes back in one of the other movies. In the most ridiculous B-movie fashion. Melvin's a fucking idiot.
Melvin, one of these days somebody's gonna kick your ass.
Tell the kid how it is. Fucking headshot.
Must be a million of them!
Oh, just one big one.
Just one!
This fucking thing. I don't know, it feels like a unique creature design. But I feel like underground big worms have been a part of science fiction for a long time. So I don't know. I mean, Dune obviously has it, as I mentioned earlier. But
Knocked itself cold.
Called my ass.
he dead.
He's dead.
It's a really interesting thing to show that these creatures can die
We killed it.
so early on.
Fuck
Like,
you!
we've got our first look at one of these things, and they actively decide these things can die, which is interesting. It's a nice.
Weird a minute ago.
It's actually kind of a nice,
I mean, it just happened.
different change of pace for these kind of movies. Like normally, the creature would be seen as indomitable,
What's that?
All right,
but
together.
we're actively shown that these things can die.
Yeah, it must push itself along with these. You know, all of them pushing at once. That's why it moves so fast.
I like how it's.
I mean,
They sort of give us a
had sensors tripping all
biology lesson on these creatures. Like, we know how it propels itself. We know how it hunts its prey.
Just didn't tell you.
Like,
Oh, hell, man, no one ever saw anything like this. We're really onto something here.
it's got kind of a.
Yeah, right, with a
These two
winch.
characters kind of give this whole thing like a Ghostbusters vibe. Like these two sort of just working Joes
Yeah, crane with lifting
trying
crap.
to make money out of ridiculous situations.
Three more of these. Well, that'd make them a couple of billion years old. And we've just never seen one till now. Right.
I vote for outer space. No way these are local boys.
I love this whole debate of where they come from because it's the same questions we're asking.
Haven't seen a sign for hours.
And I like there's a mystery to it. There's a element of, well, what are they? They could be anything to whatever the audience wants them to be. but it gives you enough
Something.
to draw your own conclusions that feel logical to you. So
Well, it's got no eyes, right? Sure as hell can't smell us underground. I say it's been listening.
Of
it's
course.
amazing that he figured that out. Of everyone else, he's the one who figured that out. We now live on this rock together, forever and always. Maybe we'll have kids here and they can grow up on the rock, become rock babies. And Uncle Earl will be that grouchy old man constantly taking a piss in the corner.
Why in the hell do I always
These
have to do all
convenient pieces of wood
Who died and made you
that are just
Einstein?
like pole arms. Although I must admit, after this scene, I just took any opportunity to pole vault wherever I could when I was a kid. I can pole vault. I'm doing it. Look how just light-hearted this moment is. They could get eaten at any moment. He punches everyone.
Look, these creatures are absolutely unprecedented.
Yeah, but where do they come from?
Yeah. Doesn't matter where they come from. We're not gonna leave them alone.
Such a good gag. And boy called Wolf, cried Wolf.
I'm gonna help you.
I like how this is sort of... This rhymes with the guy up on the electric pole thing. Me getting all George Lucas and all of you. It rhymes. It rhymes. It makes sense. It's like poetry. It always freaked me out how the pogo stick is just stuck in the ground. How the fucking graboid is just like holding it. I have this now. It's great setup though, earlier on when they have that thing vibrating. You almost forget that it happened earlier and then you suddenly go, oh! And no, Walter! Poor guy! Oh! Oh god! Oh god! That looks like a fun day at work, doesn't it? It looks like a deeply unpleasant way to go, doesn't it? Not like I'd expect anything less, but... So we're going to get that transitional shot I was talking about earlier, coming up any moment now. It's a great shot. Thanks to the guys at the Red Letter Media for pointing this out. Because ever since I saw that and they pointed out this little moment, it fucking blew my mind. Because obviously I knew the scene must have required a mixture of like the actors being on camera and some miniature work and puppets and all that kind of stuff. But I never picked up on this sort of transition from the actors to the puppet. So I recommend watching that video, by the way, but we'll go through it here now as well. So here's the puppet on the miniature. They're shooting it on their side. Cameras on actors on camera. We're back onto this ridiculous wall of guns, which is amazing. So the camera will do like a pan. So that's an incredible transition from the real gun hitting the ground, transferring to a model gun, and then the camera moves up to the puppet. It blows my mind how seamless that little transition is. Again, thanks to the Red Letter Media guys for pointing that out in their video, because I think about that moment more often than any healthy human being should. Jesus Christ. I killed one! Yay! All it took was a fucking gigantic cannon of a gun. I love how the graboids do sort of show learning. Like they try and like it's another twist in the film. Like just when you think you know everything there is to know about these things, they start learning. This always made up. Like this is the stew. Why would you get onto the tire? Like that guy just gave up. Ness just gave up on life. I do really enjoy how this movie, like I was saying, like, you see the creatures learning, like they're actively like figuring ways out how to eat people. But we also actually get our human characters having to learn and improvise, and like it's like there's this leapfrogging thing going on in the movie where the characters are trying to keep ahead of the creatures. It's what keeps you invested. Kevin Bacon sacrificing himself. What a hero! In pure style as well.
Suicidal.
Ugh, as always, the way it's sort of like looking up. Kevin Bacon to the rescue!
What do you think? Max firepower or this?
I go for penetration, the 458, shooting solids, less ammo to carry.
Come on, Bert, move!
I mean, that seems like the obvious choice. Why did he even ask?
1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration, Geiger counter, bomb shelter.
He was prepared. Gotta give him that.
Underground. Goddamn monsters.
The one thing not prepared for, underground monsters.
Wait, look out!
They made a trap! Oh god, that was a good stunt by all involved there.
What if we throw one that way, where we want to go? Then when it explodes, I mean, if it drives them away, we run like goddamn bastards. Pardon my French.
It's a good little payoff.
We had food, water. You can't fight them like that. So you two screw-ups hauled us way the hell out here?
What else was the plan gonna be? Let's be real.
Take one of these. Walk right out there with the fuse lit and let them take me down.
Now, that's not a bad idea. No, it gives me an idea.
Straight out front. See if we can keep him right there.
We found a small collection of rocks. Don't lose those rocks. We've only got so many.
Oh man, you're not gonna do your lasso thing.
It's because you're no good with a rope.
Fucking pay off for the lighter earlier on. So many neat ideas in this movie, like where they're just being inventive. Like how are the many ways we can kill these underground monsters? This bit was orange goop. Again, unique. Nice orange goop. Just when you think they've beaten them, this smart ass does that. It's great. It's like the stakes just keep getting one up every time. And of course it lands in the pile of the other bombs. And then this moment's great as well. Like this little...
Wait.
That little noise, you hear it.
This one's not falling for it.
Ain't stupid. This one ain't stupid.
This one ain't dumb.
Also, the human characters aren't stupid enough to know. Great. The leapfrogging continues.
This bastard ain't smarter than us.
Got an idea.
For Christ's sake, Val. I'm gonna go.
They didn't show us that cliff at the beginning of the movie for no reason. Kevin Bacon's got a vision. A vision.
Too far, you throw behind him.
He knows what he's doing. Trust the man. I mean, I don't understand why he just kept standing there, because it's not like he's stomping the ground or anything. Just did look cool. That's the only reason he did it. There he goes. Orange slime, orange slime. Luminous orange slime. If I ever make a movie with a monster in it, I'll give it orange luminous slime in reference to this.
Suddenly hit me, you know. Stampede.
What a great payoff to that opening stupid moment at the start of the film. Oh, and they lived happily ever after. You know what? Something else I miss about new movies is that we don't get this very often. Like this whole credits start going over the last frame of the movie. That doesn't happen enough anymore. Okay, that was the reaction / commentary to Tremors. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting the thumbs up button and maybe even subscribing, or help the channel out a lot. Other than that, we're going to get into the discussion of this movie. So that was Tremors, an old favourite of mine, especially from when I was a kid. This movie had me acting all kinds of stupid when I was a kid. Most people played floor is lava. I didn't. I played floor is graboids. That's what I would play. If there was any other opportunity to do pole vaulting, I was just like, I'm doing it. I'm just, even when there's no cause to whatsoever, like, yeah, I've probably picked up a couple of injuries when I was a kid thanks to this movie, just wanting to pretend that there were graboids underneath me because I was a stupid kid. But no, all in all, the film is just delightful, especially with the fact that I saw this. First time I saw this was just sort of when I was getting into horror, I suppose. And this was kind of like, you know, baby's first horror movie, I suppose. Like, it leans into that whole creature feature, monster feature, but it elevates itself. And it certainly was one of those films that started my driving force into that sort of cinematic world of horror and monsters and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I have a lot to owe to this movie just for that, if nothing else. But in terms of this film itself, like I say, it absolutely elevates itself beyond its sort of B-movie tropes. And it does that via so many different means. Just the filmmaking involved is so, like, top tier. The narrative just being really tightly written, like A to B, and all sorts of little things that loop back round from beginning to the end, like the whole gag with the lighter, the stampede thing, obviously, and just well-written, well-performed characters who you are just instantly endeared to, and you just want to see win, and you want to see their creative thinking and how to deal with the situation. All that stuff elevates it. And then there's just the filmmaking involved. Like, you can follow what's going on. You see, like I say in the reaction, the leapfrogging of the creatures getting smarter and the people getting smarter, trying to keep on top of the situation, on both parties. It's great to you see that sort of learning coming into effect with both the antagonist and the protagonist. It's just great stuff. And then, like I say, there's all the sound design stuff, that transitional shot from the model, from the real prop to the model up to the puppet, like all those little things. They're literally it's been said by many other people, but the only moment of this movie that I feel is truly dated is the bit where you have Bert sort of on what would have is the equivalent of a green screen by today's standards, with the puppet in shot in front of him. That's the only moment of this movie that looks quote unquote bad by today's standards. The rest of the movie is, you know, it's just as good as, if not better than, a lot of things that come out today, quite frankly. It kind of reminds me of Alien, the original Alien, in that way, in that it takes something that had sort of been explored in the 50s and 60s and sci-fi, that era of, you know, a group of people trapped with a monster. That had been done time and time again before this film, but it finds ways of twisting that tale, giving you things that you don't quite expect, and just these great characters that you just get invested in. Another thing the film does, it gives you just enough information that you can draw your own conclusions. Like, all the stuff they set up about the monster, but they don't actually give you like a specific of where do these things come from. They like hypothesize, maybe they're aliens, maybe they're from some period of history that hasn't been recorded yet. All that stuff. Even throwing in maybe it's Russians who have new weapon that they've launched at us. Of course they did. It was the 80s, I believe, so of course that was going to be on the cards as well. And also with, again, the characters, like I said in the reaction, if it's in there, like, it's interesting to try and think of how Valentine and Earl have become such close friends. They work together, they live together. Is it just a convenience thing? Were they both living here separately, and then they thought, hey, we can save money and earn more money if we work together and live in our same little crappy camper van, which doesn't look like a comfortable place to be sharing with two fully grown adults, because it looks smaller than the room I'm currently sitting in. But it's just fun stuff. It just throws up a lot of fun stuff to sort of think about and theorize and all that kind of stuff. And like I say, the filmmaking's so good, and the narrative is just so well crafted that you can think of these things, and there are logical conclusions that you can draw to make it all fit together nicely in a package. Obviously, I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. Like I said, it's really just enjoyable. It's really endearing, and I think it's just that thing of seeing ultimately good people succeed, and I think that's just always fun for audiences to watch, is just people you like doing well. Obviously there are stakes set as well, which again I think is another thing that slightly elevates it, is that it could have easily either slipped into just being, you know, kind of easy going watching with nothing much going on, but it's, you know, it's smart enough to actually put stakes in there as well by showing some pretty gnarly deaths, showing some pretty sort of gruesome like aftermath of things in the setup at the beginning, which the setup at the beginning of the movie is great. It really helps sort of set the stage for what is to come, and by giving you these sort of gruesome images of a dehydrated old man up on the old telegraph electricity pole thing, and then the guy's head inside the dirt. I kind of forgotten how kind of brutal that is, even though you look at it, it's quite clearly like a rubber head. But I don't know, I think the expression on it is what sells it for me, just the but yeah, it's all good stuff. I love that the opening of the movie. Like it hits its marks, like in the pacing as well. Like it hits like right at the point, like time wise, it hits the moment, like I think maybe 20 minutes in or whatever, it like hits that mark of something happens that alters the tone of what's currently going on. So it's just really like well paced throughout. Like a new thing happens at like pinpoint accuracy moments in the film, which lead you into the next beat, and you're just never bored. You just don't get bored as an audience member. It's just, there's always something fun happening, there's always something scary happening, there's always something just entertaining happening generally. But with all that kind of, it does a great balancing act as well between the sort of gruesome murders of these people and also the light-heartedness of it. There is like a light-hearted element to this whole film. Like the pole vaulting scene is, you know, just silly fun, despite the fact that they like a little tentacle thing could come up and eat them at any moment. If this was trying to be like a hard R horror movie, easily they could have done that. Like, tentacle just comes up and grabs them and sucks them down, and you're like, whoa, shit, like one of our main characters has died. But I think what ultimately one of the reasons this movie sort of stays in people's minds is that it has that kind of lightness to it as well, which again, like I say, is just endearing. And as well as our great sort of central characters in Val and Earl, we have like these colourful characters surrounding them, who are either just like, you've got Walter, who is clearly an intelligent money-making man who just knows how to make money out of ridiculous things, like the whole business of him buying the snake head off of them and making profits out of them, making them look like idiots. And then kind of this, you know, without being around the bush, the standout is like Bert and his wife, like these survivalists who have made this perfect bunker for any situation apart from underground monsters, which is just funny. It's just like this whole film is just a setup to that gag in a way, but it's good. Like they are everything guns, like that brilliant tilt from them standing in their basement, which, you know, we know the characters, we know they're into their survival, they're into their guns, they're making their own ammunition, all that stuff. But then when the camera tilts over to the side of this wall of guns, it's such a great visual joke. It's weird to say subtle humor, but it's not. It's very just there. but I think that's what it is. But it's like that weird, it's just very matter of fact. These are who these people are. Take them or leave them, and it's just inherently funny, just by the nature of that. But yeah, no wonder the sequels, when they happened, they kind of leaned into the Burt Gummer of it all, I suppose. Speaking of the sequels, I have seen 2 and 3. And I think I've seen 4 as well at some point. I can barely remember it though. 2 I remember being okay. Like, I remember it being an okay stab at a sequel, but just not as tightly done as this movie. And the third one, if I'm remembering correctly, is just full on B movie. Like, none of this elevated stuff that I'm talking about. It is just full on B movie, probably made for the Sci-Fi Channel. At least that's how I remember it. It's been, I mean, I dare I say at least maybe 15 years or so since I've seen that third movie. So I couldn't tell you, but that's how I seem to remember it in my head. From what I understand, they keep churning out sequels to this movie, so clearly it's had some sort of lasting power that they're still selling. And I believe the guy who plays Bert is in nearly all of them. So clearly that character and this world is still interesting people. I'd love to see a fully bona fide, well financed, with some good creative talent on board, do like an actual cinematic sequel, not just like a TV movie thing that they've been, or straight to DVD movie that they've been doing. I would love to see a actual stab at, not necessarily a reboot, but I think something set in the same universe just X amount of years later. That seems to be the trend at the moment in movies, that are sequels. Like, they've stopped doing quite so many remakes and reboots, but rather leaning into the, well, let's just pick up the story from where it left off from 1980 or whatever, or 70 or whatever, which I kind of prefer personally. I think that's a better way of going about sort of revitalizing an old franchise, is to lean into the fact that it's part of an old story and use elements of that old story to bring it forward. That's my preferred take. If you are going to try and rebirth, I suppose, an old franchise, that would be the way I would do it. As you can tell, I love this movie. I love it's one of those movies I can easily just put on watch, either properly or have it on in the background. It's just so entertaining. I can sit down at any point during it and just keep watching the rest of it. It's one of those movies, you know, just one of those films that if it's on the TV, I'll probably watch it. So I'm happy I did this. I haven't actually sat down and watched it beginning to end in a little while, and this was fun. I enjoyed this quite a bit. So to rank this movie, I think it's really, really good. I think the narrative is strong. It's tightly written. You know, it's obviously not going to win any Oscars or anything like that, but nor should it. Nor should it aim for that. I think it knows exactly what it is and executes on what that thing is pretty much perfectly. Like, I don't think you could ask any more of this film, really. I think it hits exactly what it's trying to do, and with pinpoint accuracy. Pinpoint accuracy! And, you know, you can't say that for every film. Even some of the Oscar movies, I don't think, like, as good as they are, some of them aren't as well constructed as this film, which is, you know, saying a lot. Here's the struggle I'm having. Am I ranking? I mean, I know my rankings are just very personal to me, and I try to keep them in line with that, rather than in terms of like giving them a critical reviewer's score. This is what this movie should officially be ranked. Any of that bullshit. I gave the 1995 Mortal Kombat an 8 out of 10 for Christ's sake. So what would I give Tremors? I'd give Tremors, I think, 8.5 easy 8.5 for Tremors. It's light-hearted, good, with a bit of horror fun, and just really well made. It's just wholly enjoyable. If you haven't seen it for yourself, you should go watch it. It's one I highly recommend. It's one of those movies that I always ask people if they've seen it, and whenever they say no, I'm like, what? What, have you not seen Tremors? But I suppose it's more of a cult favorite these days, so that's a shame. So if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. Thank you for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button. Maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss any future videos. And please do leave a comment down below. Let me know when you first saw this movie, if you enjoyed it, if it worked for you, if there's something in it that didn't work for you. I'd be interested to hear all that stuff. But other than that, as I say, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the next one.